Well, we live in this, the world gone nuts thing came about because we live in a very weird world now, don't we, where absolutely everybody appears to be incredibly offended by everything. And it means that comedians can't operate anymore because every joke is offensive. It means that Donald Trump comes along and you're in one tribe or the other. There can be no middle ground. Brexit happens here, Boris Johnson. Again, it's tribal. And someone described it to me as 2,000 years ago, we used to literally live in tribes. And you'd be in your tribe, and you'd never leave your own area. So you'd only mix with your own people. And you all look the same, you dress the same, you have the same values, the same opinions, same conversations. And then very slowly but surely, we all went out into the big bad world, and we met other tribes. And they would look different, they would speak differently, they'd have different opinions. And both tribes, at this moment of meeting these weird other people, decided the only possible way to resolve things was to kill each other. And that's where we've gone back to, haven't we? Driven by social media, we're now living in tribes. And the tribes are completely indoctrinated. There's no way out of them. You can't be in the middle. You can't say, well, Trump has good points and bad points, or Boris is good or bad on this. You're in the tank for them, or you're in the tank against them. And I don't think that's healthy. I think it's really bad for democracy. And I think there's also this whole race to social change, much of which I completely embrace. And I'm not going to sit here and defend anything that even whiffs of racism, sexism, or anything like that. But the kind of radical, zealous nature of debate these days about whether it's veganism or gender fluidity or whatever it may be, has also got completely out of hand, where people are not allowed to debate it. You're not allowed to have a conversation. You're not allowed to actually say, well, hang on a second, what about the repercussions of this? If one tribe decides that you're wrong, you have to be cancelled, taken off the airwaves, you have to be destroyed, your lives ruined, because somebody has decided they don't agree with you. And it's not about things which are genuinely, properly unacceptable and defensive. Often it's about stuff where someone's just decided they find something offensive. And we've got to somehow get back, I think, to a world where we can have proper conversation and debate again. And that's what we try and do on Good Morning Britain. I don't assume I'm right about everything. I mean,
but
I can be proven wrong, but I'm certainly prepared to have someone in front of me and respect their opinion and listen to the argument and be persuaded. We have got to get back to that, I think, and I think that the gathering here with so much collective power on the airways, we've got to encourage that. Because otherwise, where do we go? We go to a place where Twitter wakes up after the referendum and Trump's election, and they go, well, how the fuck did that happen? Everyone on my Twitter feed agrees with me. But the Twitter feed is not the public. The public is a mass group of people, most of whom are not on Twitter. So anyway, that's where the world's gone nuts idea came from. And I think it's a problem.
And do you think that problem, and you've mentioned this certainly a lot on air, is in fact down to the snowflake generation? You've brought the snowflake term onto GMB quite a bit, in fact, and you'll be honest and say that there's an annoyance, but also a bit of a delight in that generation. But do you think they're part of the problem? Is there?
Well, as a father of 4 kids, I think we've just gone ridiculously soft. I think we're now breeding a generation who are encouraged to think there's no such thing as a loss. You know, in schools now, you can't not win. You get a participation prize. Everyone's a winner. But the real world, as we all know, is not like that. The real world is about winning and losing. Everyone in this room has won and lost. Business deals, TV shows, some work, some don't. You have to go through failure, I think, to be any good. You know, I've learned far more from failure than I've ever done from success. What are we doing when all our kids just win all the time, or think they do? They come 25th in a race and they get a medal. Why? Why would we give them a medal? I don't give my kids a medal when they come 25th. I go, what the hell did you come 25th? And I think, again, we've got to get back to a more competitive spirit. The snowflake generation, they hate being called snowflakes. Of course they do. They hate everything. And they're frightened by everything, and they're offended by everything, and they're sort of, you know, anxiety rates are going through the roof. And the reason is because they've had it so easy. Let's be completely clear about life today. In recorded history of planet Earth, it's never been a safer time to be alive. There are fewer wars than in recorded history. People are living longer than in recorded history, and they are living in a healthier way than in recorded history. There is less poverty than in recorded history. On almost every single box you would want to tick, which should make you feel happy about life, is ticked. This is the best time, statistically, to ever be alive. Yeah, if you talk to the younger generation, this is the worst time every minute of their lives to ever exist. And they have anxiety about absolutely everything. And partly that is down to the way we, in my opinion, are educating them. We are just going soft. And it's a global thing, and I don't know who wins here. No, the kids don't win. They get covered in cotton wool, and they come out the other end, and they go, well, hang on, the real world seems awful. Well, it would do, wouldn't it?
But there are lots
if you get a show that gets, 20,000 viewers and gets cancelled, no one gives you a participation prize. You get a call from somebody in a big building and you get sent home. And that's it, and that's reality.
But it is a slightly different time, Piers, and we talk about social media, as you do a lot.
Yeah.
And you're heavily involved in it personally. And that does change the landscape, I think, a lot for young people. And we talk about bullying online. We talk about different issues that certainly weren't there when we were younger.
Yeah.
So do we naturally just sound like old people now by saying, oh, you young ones, you have it so easy and you don't realise it? Is that just the conversation that's been going on for generations? Young people think they have it tough, and the older think you've got it easy.
The only thing on bullying that's changed is the bullying can go on through the night when someone gets home. When bullying used to happen in my school all the time, I'm sure everyone else's school, but when you got through the door of your home, you were safe. No one could get to you.
And it's not the case.
Now they can get to you through your phone. They can get to you through your Instagram.
Yeah.
That is a real problem. And I completely accept that. That, I'm sure, raises anxiety levels. But I was out with my kids in the summer on a boat, cruising around. The nightmare of trying to post a picture to any form of social media of my sons who were 26, 22, and 18. This had to go through about 40 different forms of filter.
That's stressful in itself.
But it's ridiculous. So what are you doing?
Do you filter your photos?
And they're trying to create a false kind of perfection. And I said, it doesn't exist.
Do you filter your photos?
I do not filter myself, no. What you see is what you get. It's not...
I just thought I'd check.
It's not particularly appetizing, but you know what? It's me. It's really me. No one meets me and goes, bloody hell, he's shocking in real life. But these well, some do. But the millennials, I mean, everywhere they go, it must be, God, you look nothing like your pictures. One more surprised they've been filtered 40 times. So again, you have to take, I mean, it's a very vain society we're growing now, where everyone has to look perfect. And again, the rise in plastic surgery, the rise in all that kind of stuff, none of it's real. And we've got to get back to reality, or I don't know where it all ends.
I just wondered your view. Do you think the world will be a better or worse place without the internet?
Well, what the internet's done is it's sort of inflamed everything into this tribalism, which is hysterical. And I mean, this morning, Laura Kuenssberg, probably the most impartial, brilliant correspondent in British politics, is the subject of a Sack Laura Kuenssberg campaign over a quite pathetic thing on the internet, where she just pointed out that the guy that had it out with Boris in a hospital had himself gone on Twitter and revealed who he was and said, this is why I did it. And she said, this is the guy. And for that, she has to be cancelled. So it's the hysteria is what the internet fuels. And the internet, in many ways, is fantastic. I think Twitter's amazing. As a research tool for journalists, it's the most incredible thing. But it carries with it, it's a cesspit too, utter cesspit. I've got nearly 7 million followers now, not that I like to talk about that. But the truth about that is you get a lot of complete, Neanderthals just abusing left, right, and center. And I don't know how Twitter can regulate it better, but they've got to try. Because Instagram, by comparison, is a much softer platform, much nicer place to communicate. But yeah, I think the internet's amazing, but it's early days with the internet historically. And we've got to do more to try and de-troll it and clean it up, because I think a lot of people find it too much.
Your way of dealing with a lot of things is by retweeting and then shaming them as best
well, I like
possibly
to correct
can.
their spelling. The good thing about trolls is they are basically...
The grammar police kicks
they're basically idiots, and none of them know how to spell your in any proper context. So my daily correction of the inability to spell your is one of the joys of my life. So I like to listen. I've got the skin of 1,000 rhinoceroses, so I don't care. But I know friends of mine, Susanna, who I work with, who was here yesterday, she takes it very personally. She gets reflected abuse because of me. If I'm railing about vegan sausage rolls, which, by the way, are something to get seriously angry about, or James Bond and a papoose, if I'm railing about that, she gets abused because she's sitting next to me. Well, that's ridiculous. She always disagrees with me about that stuff anyway. So it's, you know, it's messy at the moment.
I just wondered, Piers,